The Rangers once again cannot generate any offense and will now face elimination on the road in Game 6. We're going to break down a really rough third period that saw the Rangers get completely outplayed. Plus, is there any hope for Game 6?
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1080 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, Rangers, backs against the wall, and obviously a rough Game 5 at home in Madison Square Garden against the Panthers. Panthers have now won 2 in a row, and the Rangers right on the brink, season on the brink. And in our next episode, it's going to be a doozy either way, because we're either going to be talking about the Rangers forcing in Game 7 or their season ending. So, obviously dramatic times here for the Rangers. And, my biggest takeaway from this game is just that they were not good enough in the third period. I thought through the first 2 periods, it was about even. I mean, I know some people are going to maybe give the edge to Florida, a couple more shots or whatever, but I didn't see anything too dramatic one way or the other. Both goalies were very good. You had some chances, offensive chances for each team. Nothing overly concerning going into the third period that makes you think that, the Rangers can't win this game. Unfortunately, not good enough in the third period. I thought this is the one stanza in the game where one team was clearly better than the other, and that was, of course, the Panthers being better than the Rangers. I hated the Rangers' start to this third period, specifically the first 5 minutes or so. I even tweeted out that it's a scary first 5 minutes here. To that point, between actually some puck luck and Igor Shesterkin basically being Igor Shesterkin, the Rangers were able to keep the game tied and keep the puck out of the net. But the Panthers, they got a couple of chances. They obviously kept the Rangers pinned in their own zone better than they had all night. Up to this point in the game, and they showed the stat on ESPN before the third period started, the Rangers had spent a decent amount of time more in the offensive zone against the Panthers than the Panthers did against the Rangers. But watching the start of this third period, you never would have known that, because the Rangers, again, back on their heels, hemmed in their own zone. And the Panthers, like I said, they even hit a post at one point, and the puck stayed out. The Panthers hit 2 posts in this game. So puck luck was really against the Rangers in Game 4. You can't say that in this one. And the Rangers still lost. And obviously that is somewhat concerning, because it felt like they even got a little bit of puck luck, still didn't win the game. But you watch this third period, and I don't know. I mean, it was Kulikov that hit the post. I was trying to find that in my notes there. Kulikov hit the post, and then, a couple of brilliant saves by Igor Shesterkin. Mika Zibanejad came up with a really nice shot block in the first couple of minutes of the third. This had goal written all over it. It was Reinhart had the puck in the slot and basically just turned and burned, and Mika was able to block the shot and keep it from getting to the net. Good chance, good scoring chance there. Maybe Igor makes the save, but that was obviously a dangerous opportunity. And then this save by Igor, too. And man, does he deserve better based on how well that he's played in this series. But, Luostarinen gets a chance. He goes between his own legs, and Igor stays with it all the way, makes a pad save. Luostarinen had gotten behind the Ranger defense. And then, of course, the go-ahead goal for the Panthers. First we got the power play. We got to talk about the power play. Kakko goes up the right side, shows a little bit of burst there. Mika ends up having to trip him. Second penalty of the game on Mika. The Rangers, with 13:02 to go, have the power play. And what a chance this would have been. What a perfect moment for the power play to break out of its series-long funk, and really even longer than that, because the last couple games against the Canes, they weren't scoring either. But not a whole lot going on here. And you got to give some credit to the Panthers. I mean, obviously they have a good penalty kill, and they've done well in this series. And the Ranger penalty kill was very good in this game as well. But, it starts, Trocheck wins the faceoff, but the puck immediately is knocked into the neutral zone. You've got Artemi Panarin dumping the puck. The Panthers clear it right back down. Then you've got a situation where Mika takes a one-timer. It looks like it deflected off of Kreider in front of the net, and you're thinking maybe that's the moment, but that one wouldn't go. Wenberg was on the ice at the end. He had a good shot, but fought off by Sergei Bobrovsky. And then, of course, the go-ahead goal, and you've got Roslovic taking a shot from the boards. It's denied. Kakko was nearby, but just could not get to the rebound. Lindell goes up the left side. Shot goes in with 9:38 to go in the game, Florida 2-1. Basically, when Igor Shesterkin's arm, excuse me. And I was going to talk about this a little bit later in the episode, but we might as well just go ahead and mention it now. The thing that just annoys the heck out of me in a situation like this, that's a save that Igor Shesterkin probably has to come up with, right? It was under his right arm, and there was some traffic. Tarasenko was on the doorstep. They were talking about maybe he tipped it. Doesn't look like he did. As of right now, that goal still goes to Lindell, and I don't think they're going to change it because I don't think Tarasenko tipped it. But Igor Shesterkin, for the first time in God knows how long, gives up a goal that he probably should have made the save, and the Rangers lose because of it. And that sucks because Igor Shesterkin has been so good. The fact that the Rangers were 2-2 coming into this game, you cannot come up with a bigger reason for that being the case than Igor Shesterkin doing his thing, standing on his head, giving the Rangers a chance in all 5 of these games in this series. I mean, think about it. Every single one of these games has been, it's either gone into overtime or it's been a 1-goal game with approximately 4 minutes or less to go. That's how tight it's been. But the reason it's been that tight, I mean, there's more than just one reason, but the biggest reason for the Rangers is, of course, Igor Shesterkin, and he lets in 1 goal that he probably should have stopped, and the Rangers lose once again because of it. So when did the Rangers pick up Igor Shesterkin? He's been picking them up this entire series, standing on his head, making all these ridiculous saves, cool, calm, and collected, between the pipes, just playing fantastic hockey. It's about as good as a goalie can play, and it might be all for naught because the Rangers cannot put the puck in the net. It's just infinite. It's just infuriating because think of how long we saw this same story with Henrik Lundqvist for all those years, and now we're seeing it again with Igor Shesterkin, at least for now. And I'm not waving the white flag. This series is not over. When the Rangers were up 2-1 on the Panthers, I said this series is not over. Hell, when the Rangers were up 3-0 on the Canes, I said this series is not over. And we saw proof of both of those things, obviously. But look, the Rangers are down. They got to find a way to get back up. Season going to be on the line in the next game. But one of the biggest things that's going to have to happen in that game, you have to think, is that Igor Shesterkin is going to have to turn in another, heroic performance. And I think he'll do that. And I'll just, keep my fingers crossed that that'll be enough for the Rangers to win the game. They're going to have to put the puck in the net sooner or later. And sooner or later, the star players are going to have to really show up in a big way. Maybe facing elimination brings the best out of them. We will see. But we're going to keep going in just a second. Got a whole bunch else to talk about here. I want to talk a little bit about the last couple minutes of this game that involved the Rangers pulling their goalie and Panthers get an empty netter. The Rangers pull back within 1 and unfortunately can't tie the game after that happened. But we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Game 6 and some lineup discussions, who should be in, who should be out. What do I think the Rangers should do? What do I think they actually will do? We will get to that a little bit later as well here in today's episode. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and even easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we're going to keep everything rolling here. And for the everydayers, I mean, you guessed it. We're going to be talking about Game 6 in our next episode. Obviously, the puck drops at 8 o'clock on Saturday night in Florida. And Rangers season on the line and time to find out what these boys are made of. I thought they played hard in this game overall, but the Panthers were just better. They were better in the third period, and unfortunately, the Rangers just did not execute when they really needed to. Panthers were just a little bit better, and they get the 1-goal win, and now gut check time in Game 6. But for this game, going to keep, obviously discussing this. I felt the Rangers really made a tactical error at the end of this game, and there's going to be a lot of opinions on what I'm about to say here. I've already seen a bunch of them both ways on social media. That's fine. Tell me how right I am. Tell me how wrong I am. but these are my thoughts on everything that happened in the last couple of minutes there. So Rangers down 2-1. The Panthers scored with whatever it was, like I think like 9 something to go. And I felt after that, the Rangers, they didn't have any of those scoring chances where you're like jumping out of your seat and you think the puck is in the net, but they were starting to get the puck at the net a little bit more often. They were finally starting to turn the tide a little bit in the third period after being pinned back in their own zone. They were finally spending some time on Florida's side of the ice. There's a play where Gustafsson tried to set up Trocheck for a tip in. That didn't miss by much. Adam Fox had a shot from the right faceoff circle where Bobrovsky had to really kick out his right pad and get it with the end of his pad there. So getting at least a couple of chances here and at least making you think that it's possible the Rangers could score here and could tie this game and send it to overtime for the 4th game in a row. That obviously did not happen. And I do think part of the reason why that did not happen is because the Rangers chose to pull their goalie with 2:36 to go in this game and an offensive zone faceoff forthcoming. Now, I've been saying this for years. The everydayers know I think a lot of it's not just Laviolette. I'm not crushing Laviolette here. I think he did an amazing job this year and has done an amazing job, and hopefully will continue to do an amazing job. But I do think a lot of coaches in this league pull their goalie too early. If you're down by 2 goals there, it's fine because you have to score twice. So obviously it's desperation time. But when you're only down by 1 goal and there's 2:36 to go, I've said this. This is true in the regular season, so it's even more true in the playoffs. When I see my team pull their goalie with this much time remaining, and you see the opponent then score, 15 or 20 or 30 seconds later, and there's about 2 minutes to go in the game. There was 1:52 to go in the game when the Panthers got their empty netter. I am absolutely sick to my stomach. There was 1:52 to go. You had that much time, almost a full 2 minutes to potentially get the game-tying goal. You still had your timeout. The Rangers used that after the empty netter, and no reason not to, I guess, but down by a goal, I would have liked and maybe like an offensive zone face-off forthcoming. That would have been a more fun time to use the timeout. Again, 2:36 is plenty of time to score a goal. And unfortunately, the Rangers, they ended up scoring a goal, but they were down by 2 at that point. And again, one of the reasons why I don't like pulling the goalie that early is because the Panthers cleared their zone once after the Rangers pulled their goalie, and the game was over because they went right in and they scored the empty netter. And just like that, the Rangers are now down by 2 goals instead of just one with a full 1 minute and 52 seconds to go. And there's people on social media, like I said, there was a spirited debate between myself and some Ranger fans. And again, that's fine. People are going to differ on their opinions. Some people seem to agree with me. Some people seem to disagree with me. But some of the logic I was seeing just made no sense. There was one comment where the point they were making was that you have to try to tie the game. Yeah, I know. That's going to be the Ranger game plan when they're down by a goal at 1 minute, 52 seconds or whatever it was, 2:36 to go, regardless of whether the goalie is pulled or not. That's going to be their game plan. The other point that I was seeing was that the Rangers would not have scored their second goal, if the score was still 2-1 rather than 3-1. How can you possibly know that? Am I missing something here? Like, do the Panthers have magical defensive abilities that only work when they're up by 1 goal as opposed to being up by 2 goals? Now, I'm not saying for sure that if it was still 2-1 that the Rangers would have scored there. Maybe the Panthers would have been a little bit more laser focused if they knew they were only up by 1 goal rather than 2. Maybe they would have even had different players on the ice and the ones that were out there at the time. I'm not sure. I can't say with any certainty, but I feel like that's really the only case you can make, is that the Panthers would have been a little bit more locked in if they knew they were only up by 1 goal rather than 2. But everybody's talking like it's impossible to score a goal when you've got 1 minute and 52 seconds left, like without pulling your goalie. It can certainly be done. And as I mentioned a minute ago, Rangers were starting to get at least a couple of chances. They weren't any of those like high danger, oh my God, they're about to score type moments. But I listed a couple of examples. They came at least somewhat close a couple of times after the Panthers had made the 2-1 lead. And somebody else mentioned that, the only reason that Lafreniere goal happened was because Mika Zibanejad broke his stick. And Mika Zibanejad on the play, yes, his stick broke. He had to go to the bench, get a new stick, jump back into the play. And the Panthers kind of lost sight of him while all this was happening. And then the puck comes to Mika. I think Kreider was the one who passed it to him. And Mika passes in deep for Lafreniere. Lafreniere snuck around from behind the net in front, and he deflects it into the net, and he scores with 49 seconds to go. Yeah, you know what? The Rangers probably caught a break there. That is fair to say. Because Mika breaks his stick and it actually tended to work in their favor there. He kind of just got lost. The Panthers just kind of lost track of him. And, obviously the Rangers score a goal because of it. But the goal still counts, just like the goal that Florida scored in the game before, where the puck bounced off of Lindgren's helmet and they swatted it into the net. That goal counted. This goal counted too. And I don't know, would it have been impossible for this to happen if the score was still 2-1 rather than 3-1? I don't see how or why it would be. I mean, there's no guarantee, again, that it would have gone down exactly like this if the Panthers were only up by 1 goal in this situation, but it's possible that it could have. And even if it didn't, again, I just hate throwing away almost a full 2 minutes when you could have had all that time, all those, chances to, eventually tie the game. I think the perfect time to pull your goalie is more around like 140 or 130. And of course, it depends. Like, is the puck live? Do we have an offensive zone face-off forthcoming? Do we have the puck? Do they have the puck? Who's on the ice? How is this game going? If there's a game where it's like you're down 6-5 and people are scoring goals left and right, then I think maybe you hold off a little longer. There's a bunch of factors, but I just, it's too early. 2:36 is too early. I will die on that hill. And again, I know Peter Laviolette is not the only coach in the NHL that does that. But, man, I just hated giving away that chance there because it's possible that the Rangers could have found the equalizer. They might still be playing right now. I might not even be recording yet. So you guys let me know what you think. I'm curious to see because at least on Twitter, it was kind of a split reaction when I brought this up. And it'll probably be the same deal in the YouTube section. But, yeah, man, that just what a gut punch that empty netter was. That empty netter is now technically the game-winning goal of this game. Think about it that way, too. I know that's kind of a weird way to look at it, but in a literal sense, the empty net goal by the Panthers will now go down as the game-winning goal, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But anyway, going to keep everything rolling in just a second. I want to shift our attention to Game 6. We're going to try to end on a couple of positives and talk about some things that are going to need to happen in Game 6 if the Rangers are going to, have any chance of winning this series. I mean, you got to win that one first, and the Rangers, they twice took the Panthers to overtime in Florida in the other 2 games in this series and at least won one of them. Can they do it again? Can Igor Shesterkin steal another one? We're going to discuss that in just a second. All right, so Game 6, backs against the wall. Got to find a way to win a game to keep your season alive. And one of the biggest things for me is that the big 3 for the Rangers, the maligned superstars for this team, they're going to have to show up. And you can copy and paste that to, pretty much any pivotal playoff game that the Rangers are going to play. You need your best players to be your best players. And that's a little cliche. I try to stay away from cliches on this podcast whenever possible, but it's the truth, man. You got to have your best players firing on all cylinders and figuring out a way to get it done. The good news, or at least some good news here, is that, and it's somewhat empty calories, but facts are facts. Mika and Kreider did combine for 4 points in this game. And obviously one of them was shorthanded. One of them was down the tail end of the game there when they had pulled their goalie and Mika set up Lafreniere for the goal. They did combine for 4 points, and I do think all 3 of Mika, Kreider, and Panarin looked better in this game than they did the one before. Now, did any one of them play as well as they're like completely capable of playing? Were any of them like at the absolute top of their game? I would probably say no to that, but at least they did enough where you have a little bit of hope when they're on the ice that maybe something good is going to happen here. Game 4, I just didn't feel that way. It just felt like that game could have gone 6 periods. And I don't know that any of those guys would have scored a goal. Panarin had an assist in that game, but you get the idea. And the Mika Kreider goal, that was big time. The shorthanded goal that was scored there. Rangers can't score on the power play, so they got to get another shorthanded goal. They've been racking those up in the playoffs. But you had, Tkachuk tries to take on the entire Ranger penalty kill. Didn't go so well for him. You had Schneider and Miller converging. They deserve some credit for this. They're not going to get assists or anything, but they took away the center of the ice, kind of just surrounded Tkachuk. Tkachuk had nowhere to go, tried to make a pass. Kreider deflected it. Mika takes off with it, and Kreider just bolts up the center of the ice. Mika leads him into the offensive zone, and Kreider does a little forehand backhand, slips it in, and gives the Rangers the lead. So that was obviously nice to see. And, the Rangers, the penalty kill came up big tonight. The Panthers had really kind of had the Rangers number there recently, but they kill off all 3 power plays for the Panthers. It's nice that they got back on that area of their game back on track. And hopefully that bodes well for game 6. The penalty kill for the Rangers looking like the one that we all know and love, not just killing off all 3 penalties, but of course also getting a shorty as well. And, Panarin, I feel like he looked better in this game in general. No points, obviously, but he was skating hard. He looked like he was out there with a purpose. He did have some scoring chances every now and then, was shooting the puck a lot more often. He ended up with 4 shots on goal in this game. So all positives. Again, was this Panarin like just max powers Artemi Panarin? I can't go that far, but he certainly looked a lot better in this one than the last one, and they're going to need him big time in the next one as well. Another key for game 6, and this one is probably pretty obvious for anybody that watched this series, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Igor Shesterkin is going to need to be in God mode, which he has been for the entire postseason run, basically. And it really sucks what happened in this game because, again, he gives up something of a soft goal, and it goes under his arm, and it costs the Rangers the game. And like I said earlier, I'll repeat it right now. When do the Rangers pick up Igor Shesterkin? Hopefully that's in game 6. I mean, I guess you could say maybe in game 4 a little bit because he did give up 4 goals and the Rangers still won the game. But, I mean, I don't know. To me, Igor Shesterkin was fantastic in that game. He was kind of, the Panthers made some plays and the Ranger defense let him down at times as well. No, I'm thinking of game 3. Game 3 was the high scoring game that went into overtime and the Rangers won. But man, it's time for the Rangers to really rally around Igor Shesterkin because this guy's been phenomenal. And there's so many reasons why you don't want to let this season get away. I mean, think about so many players that had career seasons, Artemi Panarin, the entire Panarin line, Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere, all had career seasons. Igor Shesterkin has been fantastic. He's been even better in the playoffs. Do you really want to let all these things go to waste? It would just be a really, really rough way to go out. And the Rangers have to rally around Igor Shesterkin. But as I said in our last episode going into game 5, it does feel like Igor Shesterkin, if the Rangers are going to win this series, and it really feels this way now that they're down 3-2, if the Rangers are going to win this series, he's going to have to steal at least one more game. And no better time than game 6. I mean, it's a lot to put on his plate. It feels like if he gives up more than 2 goals, the Rangers are going to lose. I hate to be that negative, and you never know for sure how this can go. I mean, every playoff game can be so different in a series. And maybe the Rangers come out and they're buzzing and they score some goals. But, the way things go, man, the Panthers just suffocate them. They get them pinned in their own zone. And the Rangers just cannot convert on whatever few scoring opportunities they're creating. The power play is a mess right now. And 5v5, that wasn't there in this game either. So as far as the scoring chances, there were some. There were some scoring chances, and this was a better effort and a better showing than game 4. But ultimately, just not good enough. As far as the Ranger lineup goes for game 6. So, give me Alexis Lafreniere double shifting with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. We saw at the end of this game, Mika Zibanejad and Alexis Lafreniere. I already described the goal, but I've said multiple times, and I said it as recently as the episode before this one, Mika and Lafreniere have some sneaky good chemistry. And that's despite the fact that we've never really seen them as line mates for like an extended period of time. I mean, you'll see it every now and then. Gallant for a while had Lafreniere with Mika and Kreider, I believe. But it doesn't really last that long. And of course, this year you can understand it because Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin were one of the best lines in the NHL the entire year, and you don't want to break them up. But, we talk about the top line right wing, and, they've tried everybody. They've literally tried everybody on the team that's not on the Panarin line. I think everybody else on the team at one time or another has gotten at least some run with Mika and Kreider. You know what? Screw it. It's not going to happen. And I said the exact same thing in the last episode. Get Lafreniere up there. Maybe you throw Panarin out there with them a couple of times too. There is no top line right wing on this team. That player does not exist. We haven't figured it out all season. It's not going to happen in game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So let me get some double shifting from Lafreniere specifically and also from Artemi Panarin. I also need Lafreniere on the top power play. Mentioned this in the last episode. I'll reiterate it now. The power play is a mess right now. Lafreniere is the most consistently dangerous Ranger forward. He needs to be out there. And I'm at the point, you know what? Put the other 5 names into a hat and pull one out, and that guy's off of the top power play unit. What else do you do at this point? I personally would take Mika off. I don't know that they'll do that. And, I guess I can understand the other side of it for Laviolette if he wants to let it up to, his best players and the 5 guys that have been on that top power play unit all season, that power play that was so dangerous early in the playoffs and obviously the entire regular season, number 3 in the league. But facts are facts, man. The power play just isn't getting it done right now. And I think you're just doing yourself a disservice by keeping Alexis Lafreniere away from that unit. Get him out there, give him a chance. And if it's up to me, Mika Zibanejad is the guy that's going to bump down to the second unit. The other thing, and I think this probably goes without saying, they have to stick with these new defense pairings. Miller took a couple of penalties, but I think he played a better game than he's played in a while. Braden Schneider continues to play quality hockey for the Rangers. Gustafsson and Trouba, I thought both looked really, really shaky in this game, but it's the third pairing, and I don't really have a solution. I mean, I know some people are going to say, oh, I'll throw Zach Jones in there, scratch Trouba. Trouba's not going to get scratched. We know that. And I don't think Gustafsson is either. Not at this point. If that was going to happen, it would have happened a little bit earlier in this series or maybe even earlier in the playoff run in general. But yeah, Gustafsson and Trouba I thought looked shaky in this game. Trouba only got 1602, which was the second fewest among Ranger defensemen, only to Lindgren, who only had 1341. And with Trouba, I don't know, man. I hold my breath every single time this guy's on the ice. And, you know, people are, and I understand the frustration from Ranger fans because I'm right there with you. But people are going after Panarin, and they're going after Mika, and they're going after Kreider, and they're going after Drury for not doing enough at the trade deadline, and they're going after Laviolette for some of the decisions that he's making, and they're going after Jack Roslovic for doing a bunch of drive-bys, and they're going after K'Andre Miller for, you know, what's the nickname that everybody has for him? Something about poking the puck because that's what he always does instead of taking the body. There's a lot of targets right now, and you know, I don't want to throw just one player under the bus, but Jacob Trouba, man, like, at least with the other players, at least with guys like Panarin and Mika and Kreider, you can believe that even when they're slumping, I mean, these guys put up a lot of points in the regular season, and all three of them were on fire to start the playoffs. So you can at least talk yourself into believing that these guys can do something productive in the playoffs. They can, account for a goal. And again, however it happened, in whatever fashion it happened, Mika and Kreider did combine for 4 points in this game. Jacob Trouba, when he's out there, I don't know what he's going to do that's positive that's going to help this Ranger team right now. I'm just not seeing it. Okay, he'll hit a few people. Fine. There's other people that can hit. There's other people that can throw checks and, hit people and all that good stuff and play physical hockey. I don't know anything positive that's going to happen when Jacob Trouba's on the ice. I'm sorry. I don't have any other way to say it. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So beyond everything I just said, I don't think the Rangers are going to make any big changes as far as who's in and who's out. I think they're probably going to end up going with the same 20 players. They might take Rempe out, and more on that in just a second. But to kind of go through the list here, I don't think we're going to see Blake Wheeler get back in. You know, I mean, it's tough. Obviously, if his career ends by him taking a penalty in overtime that wasn't even his fault, by the way. But then the Panthers score on the power play, if that's the last shift of his NHL career, that is a rough way to go out. But this isn't the time to be concerned about anybody's legacy or anybody's feelings. I just don't see Blake Wheeler working back into the lineup. I mentioned Zach Jones a second ago. I don't think we're going to see him either. Not at this point. Not with the Rangers facing elimination. I think maybe game 5 here would have been the time to give that a shot. I threw out the idea in our last episode of going with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. And I guess that's something that you could still do in game 6. But I don't know, man. Like, are you going to have somebody make his playoff debut for the season in game 6 when elimination is on the table? I just don't think the Rangers are going to do that. We'll see. Brodzinski could always be an option. Maybe he steps in place of like Matt Rempe or maybe even Roslovic or Kako. We'll see. Maybe you just give Brodzinski a chance. You figure, a fast player with fresh legs, that's something that maybe could go in your favor. I'm not sure. It's at least an option. It's something that's on the table. I would say, though, I think we might see Matt Rempe come out of the lineup in game 6. Matt Rempe in this game, without looking at the box score, guess how much time on the ice he had? He had 2 minutes and 43 seconds. That was it. And I don't care if it's Matt Rempe, Jack Roslovic, Artemi Panarin, Jacob Trouba, K'Andre Miller, anybody other than the backup goalie. If you're only going to play a certain player 2 minutes and 43 seconds, no matter what their role is, no matter what their skill set is, no matter how many years they've been in the league, there is no reason to dress that player. None whatsoever. And maybe that wasn't the plan going in, and that's just kind of the way everything shook out. But if Matt Rempe is only going to play for 2 minutes and 43 seconds, then he doesn't need to be in the lineup. Now, if you want to play him more than that, and you feel comfortable doing that, then he can hang on to his spot for game 6. But with everything I just said, with Matt Rempe only getting 243, it's just a waste of a roster spot. And you could put Zach Jones in that spot there. Now, there's some good that can come out of that. First of all, Zach Jones, in this game I'm talking about, this game here tonight, he's fresh legs. That's always nice, in the playoffs, somebody that isn't all beaten up and worn down. On top of that, it could also mean that, there's less wear and tear on the other Ranger defense, and you kind of pick and choose your matchups. You can honestly limit Jacob Trouba's ice time a little bit more than you did in this one already. So there's that. We know that Adam Fox is obviously playing through an injury. Maybe you cut back on his ice time just a little bit. Ryan Lindgren, I'm sure, is banged up. I mean, that guy just takes an absolute beating. You could pull back on his ice time just a little bit. 7 defensemen does allow you to, lighten the load for everybody just a tiny bit. And I don't know, Zach Jones, good puck moving defenseman, somebody that maybe could make a positive difference in this series. I would have had him in there for this game here tonight, especially if I would have known that Matt Rempe was only going to get 2 minutes and 43 seconds. It's a waste of a roster spot if you're only going to play him for that long. And I like Matt Rempe, and he does his thing, and he's got his role. But if any player is only going to play 243, there's no reason for them to be dressed. So that's where I kind of stand on that. We'll see. But as far as what I think the Rangers are going to do, these are all my ideas. As far as what I think the Rangers are going to do, I don't think they're going to change much of anything. I think maybe you see Matt Rempe come out, and maybe I feel like they would put probably Johnny Brodzinski into the lineup. I can't see it being Wheeler, and I just don't know how much of an option anybody else would be at this point. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, I mean, as far as that, I mean, we got it on a positive here. So I've talked all season about how this Ranger team does tend to bounce back when all the chips are down, when they're coming off of a difficult loss, when they haven't played their best, and they tend to dig deep and find a way to get it done. We saw it in the regular season. We saw it in the playoffs. And one more stat that I'll throw at you guys here. The last 2 seasons combined in the Stanley Cup playoffs, when the Rangers are facing elimination, their record is 6-2. So this is a team, and you can be down on them right now all you want, but this is a team, it's factually been proven over the last 2 years. It is difficult to get rid of them, historically speaking anyway, when their backs are against the wall, when they are facing elimination. Now, does that guarantee a win in Game 6? Absolutely not. But that does tell you that something lies within. There is a certain amount of mental toughness and mental fortitude from this team. Can they pull another rabbit out of the hat? We're going to find out here. And the question for the Ranger players right now is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to keep chasing the dream, the Stanley Cup? It's right there for you, but you got to win this one. You got to figure out a way to go on the road and be an excellent team. Dig down, empty the tank, give it everything you freaking got, because we're going to have another episode, and I don't want to be talking about the end of the Ranger season. I'll be talking about what an awesome win that was, and let's go get Game 7. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Not giving up yet, but that was a rough one tonight for sure. But, again, I'm not too big on game-to-game momentum in the playoffs, so hopefully the Rangers can bounce back, and we will call it there. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We will see you next time.